In a small village, tucked away from the bustling world, lived a young woman named Alima, but Alima wasn't known for her kindness or her hard work. She was known as the laziest girl in the entire village. While other women her age rose with the rooster's crow, fetching water from the river or tending to the fields, Alima remained on her sleeping mat. Long after the sun had climbed high into the sky, she did nothing. She helped with nothing. Her entire existence was supported by her mother, Marie too. Alima's dream was simple, and she was not shy about it. She craved easy money, a life of absolute comfort that required zero effort. Her mother, Marie too, was the complete opposite. A woman whose shoulders were stooped and whose hands were calloused from a lifetime of relentless labor. She loved Alima with every fiber of her being, but her daughter's idleness was a constant ache in her heart. Every day, Marie too cooked, cleaned, washed clothes, and mended Alima's worn dresses, while Alima would simply gaze at her own reflection in a cracked piece of mirror, completely captivated by her own beauty. And Alima was, without a doubt, beautiful. Her face was like a radiant dawn, her eyes sparkled with a mischievous light, and her intricately braided hair was the envy of many. Men would stop and stare as she passed, but the women of the village knew better. They would whisper behind cupped hands, their voices low but their words sharp. They all knew that beneath that stunning exterior lay a deep and dangerous flaw, her absolute refusal to work. Marie too often tried to warn her. "My daughter," she would say, her voice tired but full of love, "beauty is fleeting. It fades like a flower in the sun. What will you do when I am no longer here to care for you?" But Alima would just laugh a light, carefree sound. "I will marry a rich man, mother. Why should I suffer and toil when life can be so easy?" This obsession with easy wealth consumed her thoughts. She'd watch the market women at the end of a long, hot day, counting their meager earnings, and she'd think to herself, there has to be a faster way, a better way. And then, one evening, it seemed her wish was about to be granted. As the sun began to bleed across the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, a strange and sudden silence fell over the village. The dogs stopped their barking. The children's laughter faded into stillness. It was then that a tall man appeared on the dusty path leading into the village. He was dressed in a dark, shimmering robe, and his eyes held a mesmerizing quality. His smile was both charming and deeply unsettling. He didn't hesitate. He walked with purpose, straight to Marie too's yard, where Alima was sitting, lost in her daydreams. "I have heard of you," he said, his voice as smooth as polished stone. "They say you are very beautiful." Alima felt an immediate magnetic pull towards this stranger. He was unlike anyone she had ever met. He then opened a small leather pouch, and the sight of what was inside made her heart hammer against her ribs. It was filled to the brim with glittering gold coins. "All of this can be yours," the man said softly, "in exchange for something very, very simple." Alima's breath caught in her throat. "What is it you want?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. His smile widened. "Tomorrow after you have bathed, I want you to give me the water you used." "That is all?" Alima almost laughed. Her bath water? The request was absurd, completely ridiculous, but the gold gleamed so brightly under the fading light. Her overwhelming desire for wealth was a roaring fire that consumed every last flicker of doubt and caution. Against her better judgment, she agreed. The next night, under the cloak of darkness, Alima carefully collected her bath water. She met the mysterious man beneath a large ancient tree just outside the village. True to his word, he handed her a heavy bag of gold coins, and then, without another word, he melted back into the shadows and was gone. From that day forward, Alima's life transformed. She lived like a queen. She draped herself in expensive fabrics, adorned herself with gold jewelry, and paraded through the market with an air of untouchable pride. The villagers could only whisper in shock and awe. Her dream of easy money had finally come true. But her reign as the village queen was short-lived. Exactly 3 days later, her perfect world began to crumble. When Alima went to wash herself, The water felt like fire against her skin. She let out a piercing scream of agony, but when she looked, there were no burns, no marks at all. It didn't stop there. Soon, even a single sip of drinking water brought on the same unbearable torment. Panic began to ripple through the village like a foul disease. Alima could no longer touch water in any form. Without water, her body quickly began to betray her. Her lips cracked and bled. Her skin, once so smooth and radiant, became dry and withered. Her famed beauty was vanishing before her very eyes, like a mirage in the desert. The whispers in the village changed from awe to fear. She made a pact, they said. She made a deal with something dark. Easy money always comes with a price. Marie too was frantic with grief and desperation. She searched everywhere for the mysterious man in the shimmering robe, but it was as if he had never existed. Alima grew weaker with each passing day, her body withering away, her pride replaced by constant agonizing cries for help. Then, one night, a new figure appeared at their door. It was an old priestess, her face a map of wrinkles, her eyes holding an ancient wisdom. She spoke with an authority that commanded respect and a fearlessness that calmed the air. She explained what the villagers had already suspected. Alima had been deceived by dark forces. The man was no ordinary traveler. He had tricked her and stolen a part of her essence through the bath water. There is still hope, the priestess declared, her gaze fixed on the weakened Alima. But only if your daughter accepts her fault and is willing to face the pain head-on. A ritual was prepared under the cold light of the full moon. The entire village gathered, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and pity, watching in tense silence. As the priestess began to pour sacred water, a horrifying dark voice erupted from Alima's own throat, a voice that was not hers, claiming ownership of her soul. Terrified, but filled with a newfound determination, Alima knew what she had to do. She made her choice. She took the cup of sacred water and drank. The pain was beyond anything she had ever imagined, a searing fire that tore through her entire being, but she did not stop. As she drank, a thick black smoke began to pour from her body, rising into the night sky before vanishing completely. Alima collapsed to the ground. The silence that followed was heavy, breathless. Then slowly she opened her eyes. She took a hesitant sip of water. It no longer burned. She was free. A few days later, a changed Alima stood before the village. She was still weak, her body a shadow of its former self, but she was alive. She spoke with a humility that no one had ever heard from her before. I believed in easy money, she said, her voice clear and steady. I believed in shortcuts. But I have learned that nothing of true value ever comes without effort. For that belief, I almost lost my life. From that day on, the lazy Alima was gone forever. She rose at dawn with her mother, her hands learning the rhythms of hard work, her heart learning the peace of an honest life. Her story was etched into the memory of the village, a cautionary tale told to every child. Because everyone in that village, and especially Alima, now understood a profound truth. When something seems too good to be true, when a reward seems far too easy, it is almost always a trap. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world.